Professor, will green energies overcome traditional ones? When?
So there's been remarkable progress in renewable energy sources, particularly for electricity generation, and I think they are already overtaking conventional sources in many regions where it's summer, sunny, peak demand for air conditioning, solar energy is very effective. Regions where the wind energy is strong, it's very cost competitive. Like many stories, it's not as simple as that. There are two quite important constraints. So first of all, they do vary with the sun and the wind. You need a power system which can deal with that and which has backup. So it's a lot harder to get towards 100% from those sources. But we have seen remarkable progress and it is continuing. The other thing is that energy is more than just electricity. So there are other sectors where I think it's going to be a lot harder and a lot slower.
Mm-hmm. And what are the main obstacles to moving towards a more sustainable energy system?
I think the major obstacles are really that we have developed a world which has got very used to the fossil fuel economy. We build our infrastructure that way. Just think of all the petrol filling stations. We have companies who have huge interests in trying to maintain their investments in coal or oil. So I think a major obstacle is just the sheer power of inertia in the systems that we've built. There are other and more fundamental difficulties. I mean, we like energy, yeah? So we need to use energy. Fossil fuels are very concentrated. In some ways that's very helpful. But as we have seen, when we put our mind to it, we can be much more inventive and develop alternatives. But for some sectors, maybe like heating and international air travel, it does look a lot harder technologically.
And do you see possible an international political consensus to fight against climate change?
Well, I think that we clearly have countries which every now and again, how shall I put it, elect leaders who do what the fossil industry would like, and or play to sections of their population that don't want to change anything. In a world of 200 countries, many of whom democracies, it is actually very difficult to get 100% consensus at any point in time. So it's quite surprising we've got as far as we can. What I think is crucial is that we build upon the tremendous achievements that have been made, particularly with the Paris Agreement, and make it plain that no country, not even the US, can destroy a work of 200 countries that took a decade. It's a flexible agreement, and I think countries will and should stick with it, and enough of them will to make it stick. But we do need still increased levels of ambitions from those countries.
Mm-hmm. In your opinion, is it appropriate to apply a tax for the use of the sun? Does this kind of politics help to promote the green energies, the renewable?
Well, when I first heard that phrase, applying a tax to use the sun, I said, well, what does that mean? And it was explained to me that the Spanish government is taxing the use of solar cells. I have to say I find that very surprising. Clearly, the Spanish government signed up to the Paris Agreement. It's part of the European goal in reducing emissions. Actually, solar energy in Spain is probably a very attractive source. So to my mind, it seems very strange to tax it. I mean, maybe in a few decades' time where the whole technology is totally established, everyone's using it, there are times when it makes sense to raise revenue if it's really that cheap. But clearly at the moment it's inappropriate. We are still trying to drive forward the electricity revolution. So taxing the clean bits of it, to me, makes no sense.
Which country could serve as example in the application of a cleaner energy policy?
Sorry, which countries?
Which country could serve as example, a good example to follow the practice?
Well, I think I've been working in and interested in this area for a long time, and one thing you realise is this is a very big and broad issue, and different countries have approached it in different ways, and some have had successes in different ways. If you look at the main core target metric emission reductions today, the UK has been very successful. We have halved emissions from the UK electricity sector in 25 years. And we did so by moving from coal through gas to rising levels of renewables, and then having a carbon price which made it cheaper to run very efficient gas plants rather than dirty old coal plants. That has really been a very successful strategy and relatively efficient. So that's one example. Another example is Swedish and Scandinavian countries have been very good at managing their heat, highly efficient buildings, good district heating, lots of biomass energy use. And you could also look in different ways at saying, but the biggest challenge is technological revolution, and there I think we should acknowledge the German government has been very effective. It's not been cheap, but it's been very effective. The German, what we call the Energiewende, really has been the core of the progress that we've seen in both wind and solar energy. And that has basically transformed the prospects for clean development in the 21st century. So, I don't want to sit here and say that one is better than the other. I think each of them has offered different things and different good and sometimes bad bits of models. But we do see a lot of progress.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.